Hello everyone, Helen here. Thanks for stopping by to come and spend a bit of time with me. If you are fairly new, I think I better introduce myself. I don't introduce myself properly every week, but I will today. I live in the northeast of England near Durham, and I'm a piano teacher part-time working from home, and the rest of my time is pretty much spent making things, either here in my craft room or in the kitchen. And I love going out for walks too. Yeah, so that's me. Today I'm going to be chatting a bit just about some finished projects, and then a little bit about how I'm using my bullet journal at the moment, and also sharing with you how I've been filling my winter journal that I started, I think end of November, beginning of December. So yeah, so that's today. So sit back and relax. So first of all, first finished project. Well, it's this that I am wearing. This beautiful cowl. I absolutely love it. I've hardly taken it off since I finished it. It's called the Pearl Cottage cowl, and it used 4-ply yarn, and I used some lovely, just lovely, very, very delicate colours. In fact, it looks creamy coloured, but there are just patches of very, very pale blue in it as well. I knit it on 3.75mm needles, and you knit it flat and then fold it in half and just sew up a seam, and the seam is at the back here. And it is absolutely the perfect fit as far as I'm concerned for a cowl. It's possibly not one that you would wear if it was a really, really cold day and the wind was howling. It's definitely something you can wear inside, and also if it's just a slightly chilly day and you want a bit of warmth around your neck. And what I love most about it is that it kind of looks like you're wearing a scarf or shawl, but there's no ends to keep kind of flopping down. I'm not a very elegant person, and I don't know, I can't wear these things in a very elegant way, but this is perfect for me. It's really, really great. I'll definitely be making another one of these. So nice. I don't have a great track record with lace, but I didn't go wrong at all on this one, amazingly. Didn't have to pull anything out, and I just think it looks really effective. I mean, it's not the most difficult lace pattern ever, but you know, for me this was really good because I don't often knit things with lacy panels in them. And it's a very well written pattern, and the lace part is written as a chart, but it's also written out just, you know, in words if that's what you prefer. So yeah, can highly recommend it. Yeah, so that's that one. The second thing I'm going to show you today was just a completely spontaneous project that wasn't in my plans at all. You might know, if you've followed me for a while, that I absolutely love, I love felt and working with felt, but I especially love some felt that's hand dyed and hand speckled, I think you would say, by a lady called Hannah, who has an Instagram account at hannahs.field, and she has a folksy shop where she sells her felt and also some patterns. And she very recently has decided to do a newsletter, and so if you signed up for the newsletter, then you got a free pattern for a new idea that she's had, which I think is absolutely unique and lovely, and it's something called a soft spot. So here it is. Yeah, it's just kind of a flat thing. And I suppose you could call it a mat. And her idea is that it's a mat for putting special things. So hopefully I'll show you some photos of it a bit closer up. And then partly it just highlights a bit of the speckly felt looking so beautiful. But I just love it. She's called it a soft spot. And if you watched last week's podcast, you'll know that I was talking about easing into the new year. And one of the tips was to be soft with yourself And so this just kind of came along, and I thought, yeah, I think that I need to do one of those. And I had some, well, I have lots of tiny things in my craft room, some of them on that rather untidy shelf there. Dear me, I really, really need to get some tidying done there. Yeah, anyway, so yeah, I have quite a lot of tiny things. And well, when I saw the pattern for this soft spot, I thought that's just going to be perfect for some tiny shells that I've got. And so in the photo here, you can see 3 shells, and they're from 3 of my most favourite places in the entire world. And that is from Tynemouth on the northeast coast, near where I was born. And we took a little trip there in last week's podcast, if you remember, if you watched it. And one of the shells is from Alnmouth, which is a bit further up the northeast coast, on the Northumberland coast, and I really love it there. And then the other shell is from the other side of the country, up in Scotland. It's from the Isle of Iona, so one of the western isles of Scotland, and that is a very special place too. So I just think it's really nice. I've got this special little mat to put these shells on, and I think that was Hannah's idea, was that it was a place for just putting something special, and it could also almost be a kind of meditative thing, just this placing of an item or items onto the mat. And I think it's partly the joy of little things, you know, the joy of appreciating something very small, but the tiniest thing can have a very special place in your heart. Yeah, so that's my absolutely delightful soft spot. I loved making it as well. It was almost a meditative thing making it. I just went really, really slowly, and I tried to do my absolute neatest stitching, and it was just a truly beautiful thing to make. I don't know, even though, you know, I really should have been doing lots of other things, but oh well. I had a slow hour or something making it and really enjoyed it. Yeah, so that's my second project, and the third project is my little mole, and she is now finished and completely clothed, and hopefully you can see now some photos. I took her out on a little photo shoot to the woods. She decided to go for a little walk in the woods and popped by a little mouse friend of hers that she came across, and she came across a molehill and stopped to have a look, but nobody popped out to say hello to her. And then she decided to collect some bits of a pine cone and a bit of some pine needles to make her little home smell beautiful. She put them in a little bag there. So yeah, so I am very pleased with her. And I took a photo of her with one of the tutu bears just to compare sizes. So she is smaller than a tutu bear. I would say it was even more fiddly doing the face, just because you had to knit a small number of stitches in the round for longer, because it's, yeah, obviously fairly narrow nose. But I mean, I just cannot praise the designer highly enough, Cynthia Valet. She just writes the patterns in such a helpful way. Of course, that still doesn't get over the fact that starting the bear off, or the mole, on the very tiny amount of stitches is fiddly. I mean, I don't think there's any way around it. And so, and one or two of you have mentioned that, and I did mention that I'd made a video to show how I join the smallest number of stitches in the round. First of all, I did it using much thicker needles. I think I tried it using some 5mm needles to make it big, and so that it would could see it better, but actually I found it much harder doing it on thicker needles than on the 2mm needles that the pattern requires. So when I made my video though, I think I used 3 or 4mm needles, and it still was a bit tricky just because of the weight, and they're more likely to slide out and overbalance and things. So I use bamboo 2mm needles for doing this, which obviously are very lightweight. And even watching my video back, it does look quite kind of clumsy, and I don't know. So I'm not kind of proposing that this is the way to do it. And I think some of you have told me that you've used a circular needle and done it with a magic loop, which is not a technique that I have learnt yet. So I imagine it could be easier that way. But anyway, I'm going to show you my way and sort of talk you through how I do it, and hope that it might be helpful, even if it's helpful for you to see how slowly I do it. And I think, but the thing that I learned was that I found, especially when I was first joining small numbers of stitches in the round, was to do it on a surface, on a table, and to have some fabric on as well, so you didn't have a slippy surface. And I really use that to my advantage while I am busy doing this very fiddly start. So anyway, let's take a look at my my joining small number of stitches in the round. So I've cast on 4 and I have knitted 4, and now I'm going to turn it over so the wrong side is facing. Slide these along a bit, and I'm going to distribute the stitches onto 2 other double pointed needles, always using the surface of the table to help me. Okay, so nothing is twisted there at the moment. I'll just make sure this is here. Right, now the crucial bit. I'm just going to keep using the table to rest on to make sure these needles are not spinning around. And for this round, I'm having to increase in each stitch. So whoopsie. There we go. Just put it down, check where I am. I'm going to this one next. Just take time to make sure the yarn isn't caught around anything. Right, I'm going to do this one next. There we go. I've increased in that one. Just hold on to all 3 needles one at a time and use the table to rest on. To increase in each of these and putting it quite tight as well, so they're less likely to fall off the needle. It doesn't matter if this bit's a bit tight. Stops the needles flopping about so much. Okay, so I'm still making sure these needles are not spinning about. Oops. And then I'll just need to knit every stitch on this round. Making sure the needles don't spin around and twist the knitting. This all looks very awkward. Oops. See? Even though I've done this loads of times, it still feels fiddly and awkward. Okay, but I've kept the needles the same direction all the time. Hopefully you can just about see the pointy nose at the bear. And if I go away and leave that now, I'll leave that lying down so it's not going to get twisted up anywhere. So that might have been helpful to you, or it might not. If nothing else, it will show you how tricky even I find it, even after having done it lots of times. Yeah, anyway, so okay then, so now on to sort of journaling. And if you know me at all, if you've been here a few times, you will know that I absolutely love notebooks and stationery and things like that. And yes, I've always kept a diary, and I have no end of notebooks assigned to different things. But today I'm just going to talk about a couple of the journals that I keep. So one of them is my bullet journal, which it was something that I discovered a few years ago, and which has become absolutely a crucial part of my life and organisation. It doesn't suit everybody, I know. Not everybody feels the need for it, but I think I could probably best explain it by I have such a busy brain with often things tumbling about inside a lot of the time, and by setting things out in a bullet journal, it just helps to kind of straighten those things out that have been jumbling about into separate things, and it just makes me feel calmer. I just feel a great comfort having that bullet journal, knowing it's there as a little prop to sort of help me with whatever whether I want to keep tabs on or kind of improve on, or yeah, whatever. So I thought I would just show you. You might be interested to see how I've filled my bullet journal this year so far. I haven't filled that many pages, but I'm going to do what in YouTube speak is called a flip through, I think, and just show you what's there. And so there might be things that you find useful or just interesting. Yeah, so see what you think. Here you are. So this is what I've done in my bullet journal so far. My bullet journal is a kind of hardback, but floppy hardback, made by Zen, and I absolutely love these inside covers and also the pattern on the edges of the pages there. And I think this is the third time I've had one of these. So yeah, there it is, Zen Art Supplies there. So my front page here, this was inspired by actually watching a watercolour tutorial where the year was interwoven with flowers, so I just decided to do it with pencils and pens. And I decided to use some of these quotes about bullet journaling there because they're very appropriate to me. And this, which I think is really crucial, the power of the bullet journal is that it becomes whatever you want it to be or need it to be, regardless of what season you're in. And that's kind of a message that, yeah, I'm trying to tell everybody else. It can be whatever you want it to be. I have my index there. So I have my calendars written out for January and February. I always like to fill the gaps with some little quotes or something. The last couple of years I've kept a record of all of my walks, just my little local walks that I go on, and so that's why I've got walks, fresh air, nature, and I'm just keeping a record. I put the date, I put how long I was out for, I put what the weather was, and just any observations. It doesn't need to be much. It might be just which birds I saw, or I don't know. There's always something to say about it. Anyway, These are pages for my completed projects, so I suppose mostly knitting and crochet. And yeah, so I'm just putting the project name down here, any details, where I got the pattern, who's the designer, which size hook or needles I used, which yarn I used, and then just which month I completed it in. I have some lovely washi tape here from Katie Greenbean, Etsy shop. And here I've got a page. This just helps me feel in control of when I've got lots of projects on the go. Having this here, I see where I am with everything. So I did this for the first time last year as well and found it to be really helpful. So I have here some columns so that I can keep track of my progress. So I've got underway, half done, nearly there and finished. And it just, at a glance, helps me see, you know, what I'm working on. I haven't quite started on this one or this one, but yeah, you can see 3 finished ones. Actually, one of the, I don't think I put Emmeline Pankhurst in there. Anyway, so that's a very useful page. I've got a couple of pages here for any kind of extra nature notes that I want to make, things I might have seen in the garden, or things that don't fit in my walks page in the observations if I want to say a bit more. You can see I haven't written very much this year, but I've got some lovely stickers for Christmas, a lovely sheet of sort of wildlife stickers, so I've put them around there. This is what I was talking about last year, some thoughts about 2022. So it's an alternative to having resolutions. So I had my columns of things I want to do more of, things I want to continue, and things I want to do less. And I think I showed you this as well, what boosts my energy and what drains my energy. And yes, so, and then more things than would fit in there really. These are just things I hope I'll find time to do. So, you know, for example, I want to do some more stop motion animation. I want to learn how to use some new software to so that I can edit my own audio recordings, digital audio recordings. That's something new to learn. I want to have my Tale from the Enchanted Forest published in paperback. I want to keep practicing my drawing and watercolour painting. I would like to write more stories and poems. I'd like to make some more Gentle Words poetry podcasts, and also I want to take part in this year's 100-day project. More of that another time. And you might recognise this here. It's what I was talking in last week's podcast. And I just thought I would keep a record for myself of what those 5 ways of easing into the new year were. But I talked about them in detail last week. And this is just going to be my pages recording books I've read. So either printed books or audio books, unabridged audio books. You can see I've finished listening to one so far. I'm quite well on the way to finishing this one here. So I really love reading, but I haven't really been reading that many books, and I've written about it a bit on this page. And last year I listened to 25 unabridged audiobooks, but I only read 12 actual printed books, and I've got loads on my shelves that I want to read. So I've made myself a reading tracker for printed books, and I'm just going to fill in each day so I've given myself a target of 10 minutes a day. That's the minimum if I can, and colour coded them. So if I read 20 minutes or more, I'll do it green, and if it's 30 minutes or more, I'll colour it blue. Yeah, so I've done that before. I did that earlier last year, and it just kind of kick-started me into getting back into reading some printed books, although as you can see from this here, it didn't work completely, but never mind. I just listened to so many audio books. Yeah, anyway, and this targeting 10 minutes I find is such a helpful way of getting myself to do something I haven't been doing for a while. So I think I can use it for some other areas of my life as well. But at the moment it's for trying to get me reading these books that are on my shelves. Okay. well, I hope you enjoyed having a little peep inside my bullet journal. As I record this, I'm actually in the process of editing the podcast, and I've come to the point where it's kind of already the length that I'm trying to make my podcasts, and I've got some video ready to show you all about my winter journal. But I think if I put that in today, then it's going to make my podcast too long. So I'm going to save that until next week. And so I apologise, because it also means that I'll not be doing any piano playing today for you. But I promise there will be some next week. And so I'll do that. So I'm going to kind of round off today. And just before I say goodbye, I just want to mention a couple of other YouTube channels. The first one is a brand new one, kind of. Well, it is brand new. That's the lovely lady Dawn, who has the YouTube channel Dawn's Days. She has just decided to start a new YouTube channel. So she's separating her weekly vlogs that she makes on the Dawn's Days channel, and she's started a separate one for her crafty podcasts, and it's called The Woven Almanac. And I think there's already a couple of episodes there as I speak today. And if you haven't been before, then I highly recommend you go and spend a bit of time with Dawn. She's just chatting all about her crochet and knitting and yarn dyeing and all sorts of other things. So it's really lovely. So yes, go along to the Woven Almanac if you haven't been there already. And the other YouTube channel I'd like to mention today is a lovely, lovely lady called Penny. And her podcast that she does every week is called Penelope's Chinwag. And it is just really, really like sitting down with an old friend, and she just chats. So she does chat about some of the crafty things that she does, and sometimes interesting facts, and walks by the sea. Sometimes we'll see her chickens, sometimes we'll go in the kitchen. So it's a really lovely mix of all sorts of things, and very nice way to sit down with a cup of tea. So that's Penelope's Chinwag as well. So there's all sorts of other podcasts I like watching, but I'm just going to mention those two today. Right then, I really think I had better say goodbye now. And so I hope that you will be taking good care of yourselves and keeping nice and busy. And I'll see you again very soon. Okay then, bye.